Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 19. Tada rajas tamo bhava,
तथा रजस्तमो भावा
kama lobha tayaschaye,
कामलोभ आदस्य च
cheta eter anavriddham,
चेते एते अनावृद्धम्
titam sattve prasidati.
स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of the nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Purport. A living being in his normal constitutional position is fully satisfied in the spiritual bliss. This state of existence is called Brahmabhuta or Atmanan, or the state of self-satisfaction. The self-satisfaction is not like the satisfaction of the inactive fool. The inactive fool is in the state of foolish ignorance, whereas the self-satisfied Atmanandi is transcendental to the material state of existence. This stage of perfection is attained as soon as one is fixed in irrevocable devotional service. Devotional service is not inactivity, but the unalloyed activity of the soul.
So we are continuing to hear Sutta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami, what's the best welfare activity for everyone? And then Sutta Goswami we have been hearing from him that he is saying that by engaging in service to the pure devotees, one gets this affinity for hearing the message of Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One becomes eager to hear the messages of Krishna. And when Krishna sees this eagerness in one's heart, then Krishna, who's the Paramatma in the heart, he himself cleans away the material desires in the heart of such a person who has developed this eagerness to hear about him. And as one regularly, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, one continues to regularly hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, serve the devotee Bhagavat, then devotional service is established in the heart as irrevocable fact. It's firmly situated in the heart. Then continuing, Sutta Goswami saying that as soon as this loving devotional service is established in the heart, what happens is the modes of passion and ignorance, their stronghold on us, that loosens. Otherwise, we are bound by those modes of rajas and tamo gun. So that binding, it goes away. So then all the last desire and hankering disappear, and the devotee is situated in goodness. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the soul, the soul, we are always blissful. That's the natural situation of the soul. Anandamayobhyasya. We are always blissful, we are self-satisfied. But this is transcendental, not on the material platform, the soul itself. So, and this stage we can achieve when we are engaged in devotional service, irrevocable devotional service, like steadiness and devotional service. So Prabhupada is explaining in devotional service, it doesn't mean that one does not do anything, but it is in
Hare Krishna.
fact Sanatan Dharma. Hare Krishna.
I don't know, somebody's noise is like background music. I mean, there's a lot of noise in the background. I can't hear you clearly. Sorry.
Ah, okay, let's
Okay,
see.
now, okay, now, okay. Everybody is muted. Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, devotional service, one may think, oh, devotional service means I have to do nothing. No, but it is actually the Sanatan Dharma, eternal activity, eternal Dharma, eternal religion of the soul is devotional service.
The soul's activity becomes adulterated in contact with matter, and as such, the diseased activity are expressed in the form of lust, desire, hankering, inactivity, foolishness, and sleep. The effect of devotional service becomes manifest by complete elimination of these effects of passion and ignorance. The devotee is fixed at once in the mode of goodness, and he makes further progress to rise to the position of Vasudeva, or the state of unmixed sattva or shuddha sattva. Only in this shuddha sattva state can one always see Krishna face to face by dint of pure affection for the Lord.
So, Prabhupada is explaining that the soul is pure, the consciousness is pure. Then why, how come we have this modes of passion and ignorance is because we have come in contact with matter, because we are thinking we are the body, because of that. But when one engages in irrevocable devotional service, very steady. So we heard by regularly Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, by regularly serving Srimad Bhagavatam and the devotee Bhagavat, then devotional service, we can't get to steady devotional service. Then the modes of passion go away from the heart, the lust, the desire, the anger, the envy, hankering, inactivity, all this go away. And then the devotee is established in goodness and he continues to engage in devotional service. And then he can rise even the mode of goodness and come to the liberated platform of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. This is a liberated platform. There is so even the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness is also material. This is pure goodness, the Vasudev platform. It's the platform of the soul, and at this point, the soul can see Krishna.
A devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Therefore, he harms no one. But the non devotee, however educated he may be, is always harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord. However, they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotee are one and the same.
So the pure devotee, uh, in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Unalloyed goodness means pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, not the material, not the material mode of goodness, because material mode of goodness still one for some time the good mode of goodness stays, but soon passion might come in, then ignorance might come in. But from pure goodness, there is no mix of passion and ignorance. So because he's on this liberated platform, he's on the Shuddha Sattva platform. So he does not harm anyone. He's the best friend of everyone, best well-wisher of everyone. And such a devotee, he is qualified with all the qualities of God. Satchid Ananda. God is Satchid Ananda. We are Satchid Ananda. But quantity is minute for us, whereas the Lord, the quantity is unlimited. So Prabhupada is pointing out one may pretend to be a devotee. They may advertise by being a devotee, but when one is on the Shuddha Sattva platform, there is no argument that, he's a pure devotee, that his actions, his consciousness is completely different than one who is pretending to be, because the modes do act on us. The modes of good, the passion and ignorance, they do act on us. So we are seeing that how by gradual hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, by serving the devotee Bhagavat, we can come to the platform of Shuddha Sattva, the Vasudev platform, the liberated platform. Evam prasanna manaso
Evam prasanna manaso
Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam
Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam
Mukta Sangasya Jayate.
Mukta Sangasya Jayate. In the Bhagavad Gita, translation, thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, one fortunate man endeavors for perfection in life. Mostly men are conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance. And thus, they are engaged always in lust, desire, hankering, ignorance, and sleep. Out of many such man-like animals, there is actually a man who knows the responsibility of human life and thus tries to make life perfect by following the prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of such persons who have thus attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In the same Bhagavad Gita 18.55, it is also said that scientific knowledge of Sri Krishna is understood only by the process of devotional service bhakti yoga.
So then goes on to say that when one continues with devotional service, one comes to the platform of Shuddha Sattva. This is liberated platform, and he actually gains positive scientific knowledge. So not theoretical, but realized knowledge of God. He can realize because he's liberated. He is no more under the modes of nature, and he can realize God. He can realize himself. He's self-realized and God-realized. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that there are so many ordinary people, or each one of us is wanting to enjoy our senses, enjoy the material world. Out of such many people, there may be one who is trying to understand difference between spirit and matter. What is the difference between the material and spiritual? So out of many such people who are trying to do this kind of research, there may be one who actually becomes perfect. And out of thousands of one who has actually become perfect, one may become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. scientifically, means one is actually God realized, self realized. So we can see that, it's so rare. A pure devotee of Krishna is very rare. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati, I can be known only by devotional service. There is no other way to be God realized other than devotional service.
The very same thing is confirmed herein in the above words. No ordinary man, or even one who has attained success in human life, can know scientifically or perfectly the personality of Godhead. Perfection of human life is attained when one can understand that he is not the product of matter, but is in fact spirit. And as soon as one understands that he has nothing to do with matter, he at once ceases his material hankering and becomes enlivened as a spiritual being. This attainment of success is possible when one is above the modes of passion and ignorance. Or, in the other words, when one is actually a Brahmin by qualification. A Brahmana is the symbol of Sattva Guna, or the mode of goodness. And others who are not in the mode of goodness are either Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, or less than the Shudras. The Brahmanical stage is the highest stage of human life because of its good qualities. So one cannot be a devotee unless one at least qualifies as a Brahmana. The devotee is already a Brahmana by action, but that is not the end of it, as referred to above. Such a Brahmana has to become a Vaishnava, in fact, to be actually in a transcendental stage. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental, even to the position of a Brahmana. In the material stage, even a Brahmana is also a conditioned soul, because although in the Brahmanical stage, the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the supreme law is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahmanical stage and reach the Vasudev stage to understand the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The science of personality of Godhead is the subject matter for study by the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. Foolish men or men with a poor fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava in the enlivened state of liberation, he can know what is actually personality of Godhead.
So here, Prabhupada is going on to explain that once one understands, okay, I am not the body, I'm not material, but I'm spirit soul, when one actually realizes this knowledge, then what happens? Automatically, he has no material desires because he's understood he's not the body, he's the spirit soul. So he's already happy being on the Brahma Bhuta platform. The soul is always happy, blissful, no? Why we are trying to get happiness from matter is because we have forgotten we are spirit souls. But one who has realized he's a spirit soul, he has no material desires. He's happy. Then so Prabhupada is explaining that how one can come to that stage. One has to get above, beyond the modes of passion and ignorance. Means one who has to come to the mode of goodness. And a Brahmana is in the mode of goodness. Brahmana has realized the Brahman. That's why he's called a Brahmana. The others, Prabhupada is explaining the modes of passion and ignorance, that is Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Brahman, so at least come to the Brahmanical platform. from the Brahmanical platform, one can transcend and come to the Vasudev platform, to the Shuddha Sattva, become a Vaishnava, because at least from this platform, one goes on to understand God, become God realized. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So the study of science of God is a postgraduate study. Because first, okay, we understand we are not the body, we are spirit soul. So we realize that knowledge. And then from there, go on to realize that I am the soul, but there is a super soul. I am Brahman, but there is Para Brahman. And then one can actually understand the Supreme Lord from that point. So that's why we are encouraged at least to come to the mode of goodness. Is that okay?
Yes.
Vidyate Hridaya Granthis.
So here, sorry, just one question. So that means that here they are saying that Vaishnav is higher than Brahman,
Yes, Vaishnava is
right?
higher than Brahma. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bhidate hridaya granthi.
Chidyante Sarva Samshaya.
Chiddante sarva samshayaha.
Shiyante Chasya Karmani.
Shiyante chasya karmani.
Drishta Evatmanishware.
Drishte evatmani ishvare. If somebody wants to read, they can read.
Can I read?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
please.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all the misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Purport. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. As far as the identity of the living being as spirit self is concerned, there are a number of speculations and misgivings. The materialist does not believe in the existence of the spirit self, and the empiric philosophers believe in the impersonal feature of the whole spirit without individuality of the living beings. But the transcendentalists affirm that the soul and the supersoul are two different identities, qualitatively one but quantitatively different. There are many other theories, but all these different speculations are at once cleared off as soon as Sri Krishna is realized in truth by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Sri Krishna is like the sun, and the materialistic speculations about the absolute truth are like the darkest midnight. As soon as the Krishna sun is arisen within one's heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth and the living beings is at once cleared off. In the presence of the sun, the darkness cannot stand, and the relative truths that were hidden within the dense darkness of ignorance become clearly manifested by the mercy of Krishna, who is residing in everyone's heart as the super soul.
So Prabhupada is going on to explain. Attaining scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead means seeing one's own self simultaneously. So self-realization and God realization happens together, simultaneously. So people have some kind of uh, what do you say, misinterpretation. Someone may say that the soul does not exist, that it's all the body, and as the body, after the body is finished, there's nothing more. Someone may believe in the existence of the spirit soul, but they may not be able to understand that there is a difference between the spirit soul and the super soul. They may think that there is just one soul, not individuality. But the fact of the matter is that there is individuality. The soul and the super soul are different identities. Different identities. Qualitatively same, Satchidananda, both are Satchidananda, but quantitatively very different. We are the individual soul, whereas Lord Krishna, he is the super soul. So we may have all these different kind of confusions, but as one progresses in devotional service, then all these confusions, misconceptions get cleared. They all get cleared, and we can gain the real knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. We can understand the truth, the absolute truth. So Caitaniya Caritamita says this, Srila Prabhupada is quoting that Krishna haya Surya saman maya haya andhakar jahan Krishna taha nahi maya ra adhikar. Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness. As soon as there is sun, there is no darkness. Like for example, over here, 2 hours ago it was dark. Couldn't see anything. But now the sun is out, so can see everything so clearly. So it happens simultaneously. The sun comes out, the darkness goes away. Similarly, as soon as one engages in devotional service, one understands Krishna, then all the ignorance goes away. One can get the real knowledge, transcendental knowledge, by Krishna's mercy. Krishna is the Paramatma in our heart. So by his mercy, we can understand the absolute truth. We can get the real knowledge, the transcendental knowledge.
In the Bhagavad Gita 10.11, the Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he personally eradicates the dense darkness of all misgivings by switching on the light of pure knowledge within the heart of a devotee. Therefore, because of the personality of Godhead's taking charge of illuminating the heart of his devotee, certainly a devotee engaged in his service in transcendental love cannot remain in darkness. He comes to know everything of the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee cannot remain in darkness, and because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead, his knowledge is certainly perfect. This is not the case for those who speculate on the absolute truth by dint of their own limited power of approach. Perfect knowledge is called parampara, or deductive knowledge coming down from the authority to the submissive oral receiver, who is bona fide by service and surrender. One cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit of an insignificant spark of the whole, a spark subjected to the control of illusory energy. The devotees are submissive, and therefore the transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma, and from Brahma to his sons and disciples in succession. This process is helped by the supersoul within such devotees. That is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge.
So Prabhupada here is quoting Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna is saying, this is the last verse of the Chatushloki, that to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding. No, this is 10:11. So this is the verse that is, to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So the ignorance, the material illusion, Krishna himself takes it away. From the heart of the devotee. He sees that the devotees are sincerely trying to serve him, to please him, being pleased by such service. Krishna gives his mercy. Krishna is the Paramatma in our heart. So within the heart, he takes away the ignorance and gives knowledge to the pure devotee. So Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is saying this in the Bhagavad Gita. So for sure, all the devotees, they are not in ignorance. They have perfect knowledge, transcendental knowledge, because Krishna himself is saying that I'm taking away the ignorance and I'm giving the knowledge. So the devotee understands everything, the absolute and the relative truths. The devotee is not in ignorance. He has complete knowledge because he's receiving the knowledge from the Supreme Lord himself. And so because he is receiving knowledge from Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. Only God can give perfect knowledge. So one may say, well, I'm not going to hear the knowledge from the parampara. I'm going to try to understand this truth by my own self. But then we are imperfect. We say that we have 4 imperfections. Illusion, our senses are imperfect, we have a tendency to cheat, and we make mistakes. So if just by our imagination we try to understand the absolute truth, that process is going to be faulty because we have defects. So our conclusion, our knowledge will also have defect. And that's the reason it is so important to hear this perfect knowledge in the parampara, because it's coming from God himself. The perfect knowledge is coming from God to his disciples, to his devotees. So we need to hear this knowledge with submission, with surrender. So the submissive oral receiver, who is bona fide by service and surrender, the qualifications to hear this is be submissive hearing, and render service. Surrender to the spiritual master, surrender to the pure devotee, follow the instruction and serve them. And hear this message of Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is saying one cannot challenge the authority of the Supreme and know him also at the same time. He reserves the right of not being exposed to such a challenging spirit. Because one may say, oh, well, I don't believe in God, I challenge, and the spirit is very not submissive. Then Krishna is like, okay, you can think whatever you want, it doesn't make a difference to me. Same like someone who's not nice to us, they're always challenging us. We don't want to really associate with them. We're not going to sit and reveal our heart to them, what we really like, what really our thoughts are, emotions are. We are not going to share it with them. It just doesn't happen. So similarly, the Supreme Lord also, we try to challenge him. He's like, okay, you do whatever you want to do. Why shall I reveal myself to you? But if someone is nice and kind to us and loving to us, automatically we open our heart to them. It's a very natural process. So Krishna also, he reveals himself to the devotee. Krishna tells to Arjuna that I'm giving you this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita because you will be able to understand it, because you are my devotee, you are my friend, you're not envious. So this is the way we can receive this knowledge. So knowledge, Krishna gave it to Brahma, Brahma to Narad, Narad to Vyasadev, and coming down to us, to Srila Prabhupada, it's coming to us. And so this knowledge is coming from Krishna, descending. This is the correct way to receive the knowledge because it's pure knowledge, spoken by Krishna himself. And this is the perfect way of understanding spiritual knowledge. Just like any material knowledge, we go to the school, we enroll ourselves in school, we study from the teachers, the professors, the teachers, they give us the knowledge. So similarly, for the spiritual knowledge, we go to spiritual school, the disciplic succession, the parampara.
This enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankar, and it falsely obliges a living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction.
So Krishna gives the knowledge within the heart to the surrendered devotee. And as a result of this knowledge, the devotee is able to understand what is matter, what is spirit. We have this ahankar, this false ego, which is making us think that we are the body, we are separate than Krishna, we are independent than Krishna. So Krishna unties this knot. He dissolves our false ego. It's because of this false ego that we are thinking we are the body. That's why it's called false ego. Our true ego is to understand. When we are saying false, means there's something real also. So what is the real ego? To understand that I am eternal servant of Krishna. That every Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nityadas, that is the real ego. So once the false ego is dissolved, there's not Hridaya Granthis, it is loosened, all the doubts are cleared, one completely understands, I am spirit soul, I'm servant of God, and he engages himself in pure devotional service, transcendental loving service. So it's not material, it is spiritual. That's why it's called transcendental. And it is based on love, not any other. It's not a business transaction. It's not, there's no payment, but it's an exchange of love. At that point, the devotee, he completely stops all material activities. All material desires are completely gone. He's completely firmly established in pure devotional service. In the material existence, what we are doing, we want to do some activities because we want to enjoy the results of those activities. And so that's why we keep on doing activities more and more to experience this different reactions. And that's what keeps us here longer and longer in the material world. But as soon as a devotee is engaged in pure devotional service, there's no more karma. As we were hearing, a story of Bharat Maharaj, there's no karma involved. Even if one makes a mistake, there's no karma because he's pure devotee already. So he may get some kind of reaction from Krishna just to wake him up, kind of, just to increase his hankering, more and more for Krishna. So at this stage, his actions no longer create any reaction. There's no more karma. It's completely on the spiritual platform, on the liberated platform. He's liberated. Ato vai kavayo nityam.
Ato ve kavayo nityam
Bhaktim paramaya muda
bhaktim paramaya muda
Vasudeve Bhagavati
vasudeve bhagavati
Kurvanti Atma Prasadanim.
kurvanti atma prasadanim.
Translation. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is unleavening to the self. Purport. The speciality of devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is specifically mentioned herein. Lord Sri Krishna is the Swayam Rupa, personality of Godhead, and all other forms of Godhead beginning from Sri Baladev, Sankarsana, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Narayana, and extending to the Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Yuga avatars, and many other thousands of manifestations of the personality of Godhead are Lord Sri Krishna's plenary portions and integrated parts. The living entities are separated parts and parcel of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of Godhead, and he is the last word in the transcendence. Thus, he is more attractive to the higher transcendentalists who participate in the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In forms of personality of Godhead, other than Sri Krishna and Baladev, there is no facility for intimate personal contact as in the transcendental pastimes of Lord at Vrajabhumi. The transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna are not newly accepted, as argued by some less intelligent persons. His pastimes are eternal and are manifested in due course once in a day of Brahmaji, as the sun rises on the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours.
So Sutta Goswami is saying, so he was speaking the glories of devotional service, the effects of devotional service. So he is saying that that's the reason all the transcendentalists, they engage in devotional service. They, with delight, not grudgingly, with delight, and that enlivens the self. The soul gets blissful. The other day we were hearing that, we are thinking we are the body and the mind, but yet the soul feels dissatisfied. Why? Because we are not feeding the soul. So devotional service is the food for the soul. And so when engages in devotional service, one feels enlivened. So Prabhupada is mentioning here devotional service unto specifically Lord Sri Krishna, Swayam Rupa, Swayam Bhagavan. Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. God is one, he has many expansions or incarnations. His expansions are Balaramji, Sankarshan, Vasudev, Anirudh, Pradyumna, Narayan. Then there is the Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Shirodakshai Vishnu. So many different avatars are there. Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Yuga avatar. But Etecham Sakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. There are so many expansions of Krishna. But original form of God, original personality of Godhead is Shyam Sundar Krishna, Brajendra Nandan Krishna, Krishna in Vrindavan, son of Nanda and Yashoda. And who are we? We individual souls, we living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna and Balaramji, they are God. They are God. But they allow the individual souls to have a loving relationship with them. Just as we see in Vrindavan. how the gopis, the gopas, they have such intimate relationship with Krishna. With Narayan, we cannot have this kind of intimate relationship. With Narayan, it is awe and reverence because, he's so majestic, so opulent that, automatically people just want to worship him in that, in awe and reverence. But we see the Brajbasis, they have this sweetness in their love for Krishna, because Krishna, in his personal form, and Balaramji, they are allowing for such kind of pastimes to happen. This intimate personal association. Somebody's Krishna's friend, the peacocks are dancing with Krishna, the calves and cows are playing with Krishna. The elder gopis are making butter for Krishna, having this loving relationship with him. So there's this sweet, very sweet, loving exchange between Krishna and his devotees. So one may think that, that these pastimes was something which happened only 5,000 years ago. So what's the use of speaking about them? What relevance is it today? But we have to understand that these pastimes are eternal. They're spiritual, they're transcendental, they're not material. It's not like the material dealings of an ordinary boy that happened long time ago. No, these are transcendental pastimes of the Lord himself. The Lord manifests these pastimes in front of us on the earth once in a day of Brahma. He shows these pastimes to us on earth once in day of Brahma, but it doesn't mean that his pastimes are not going on eternally. They're going on eternally in some other planet, some other universe, and also eternally in the spiritual world. So to understand this, we may think that the sun rises, then after the sun sets, there's no more sun. No, but the sun will rise again the next morning. Doesn't mean at night, because we are not able to see the sun, there is no more sun. No, the sun is there in other part of the world. Similarly, Krishna's pastimes are eternally going on. Eternal. Any questions or comments?
No, all good.
Sattvam rajastama iti prakritir gunaster.
Sattvam rajastama iti prakrte gunaste.
Yukta parapurusha ekai hasya dhate.
Yukta parapurusha ek ihasya dhatte.
Sthiti adaye haririnchi hare ti samgya.
Sthiti adaya hari virinchi har iti sankhya.
Shreyamsi tatra khalu satvatano nirnamsyo.
Shreyamsi tatra khalu satvatano nripansyu.
Translation. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Purport. That Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary parts, should be rendered devotional service, as explained above, is confirmed by this statement. Lord Sri Krishna and all his plenary parts are Vishnu Tattva, or the Lordship of Godhead. From Sri Krishna, the next manifestation is Baladev. From Baladev is Sankarshana. From Sankarshana is Narayana. From Narayana, there is the second Sankarshana, and from this Sankarshana, the Vishnu Purusha avatar. The Vishnu, or the deity of the quality of goodness in the material world, is Purusha avatar, known as Shirodakshai Vishnu or Paramatma. Brahma is the deity of Rajas, passion, and Shiva of ignorance. They are the three departmental heads of the three qualities of this material world. Creation is made possible by Brahma's quality of passion and his endeavor. It is maintained by the goodness of Vishnu, and when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tandavantriya. The materialist and the foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva respectively, but the pure transcendentalist worship the form of goodness, Vishnu, in his various forms. Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead, and the separated forms are called the living entities or the jivas. Both the jivas and Godhead have their original spiritual forms. Jivas are sometimes subjected to the control of material energy, but the Vishnu forms are always controllers of this energy. When Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, appears in the material world, he comes to deliver the conditioned living beings who are under the material energy. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus they become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. The prison house of the material world is created by Brahma under instruction of the personality of Godhead, and at the conclusion of a kalpa, the whole thing is destroyed by Shiva. But as far as maintenance of the prison house is concerned, it is done by Vishnu, as much as the state prison house is maintained by the state. Anyone, therefore, who wishes to get out of this prison house of material existence, which is full of miseries like repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must please Lord Vishnu for such liberation. Lord Vishnu is worshipped by devotional service only, and if anyone has to continue prison life in the material world, he may ask for relative facilities for temporary relief from the different demigods like Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Varuna. No demigod, however, can release the imprisoned living being from the conditioned life of material existence. This can be done only by Vishnu. Therefore, the ultimate benefit may be derived from Vishnu, the personality of Godhead.
So Sutta Goswami is continuing to say, here Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, that Lord Krishna, we heard in the earlier verse, has so many of his expansions, the other Vishnu Tattva, his incarnations, his expansions. So his first expansion is Balaramji. Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and his very first expansion is Lord Balaram. From Lord Balaram further expands as Sankarshan. Then from Sankarshan expands as Narayan. Then from Narayan there is another Sankarshan, and this Sankarshan of this. So there are two. From this Sankarshan, they are the Purusha avatars. The Purusha avatars are. Does anyone remember who are the Purusha avatars?
Yeah, the passion of goodness, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh.
No, these are Guna avatars. The Purusha avatars are Vishnu.
Oh, Shirodakshai, Garbhodakshai, and Karnodakshai. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are the Purusha avatars. And Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they are Guna avatars. Guna. So, so this Purusha avatar, Shirodakshai Vishnu, he is the super soul. who has entered into every atom of the universe, who's sitting in our hearts. He is the one who's maintaining the universe. He's called the Guna Avatar, mode of goodness. So one may say that, oh well, but mode of goodness is material. But Lord Vishnu, this is not the ordinary mode of goodness. Lord Vishnu is never touched by material goodness. He's always on the Shuddha Sattva platform. That is a point we have to understand. And then, of course, Brahma, as you rightly said, passion, and Lord Shiva, ignorance. They are in charge of different departments. Brahma is in charge of creation. Lord Shiva is in charge of destruction of the universe. And Lord Vishnu, he is in charge of maintaining the universe. So here Prabhupada is pointing out the integrated forms and separated forms. What are these integrated forms? These are the different expansions of Krishna, personal expansions. They are Vishnu Tattva. Personal expansions of Krishna, his expansions of his expansions. So they are all Vishnu Tattva. Then there are the Jiva Tattva, that is us. We are also expansions, but we are separated expansions. We are not Vishnu Tattva, we are Jiva Tattva. We are his marginal energy. Sometimes we are in the material world, sometimes spiritual world. But nonetheless, we have our original spiritual form. Just as God has his original spiritual form, because we are part and parcel of God, we also have our own original spiritual form, our individual spiritual form. So we get, of course, we get sometimes influenced by the material energy because we are minute, but Lord Krishna or his expansions, his incarnations, they don't. The Vishnu Tattva God does not get he does not get illusioned by the material energy. He is the controller of the material energy. So why does he come to the world, to the material world? To get us out of this material world, to tell us, hey, come back home. This is not your permanent home. You are not the body, your spirit soul. You are my part and parcel. Come and live eternal life with me in the spiritual world. This is the reason Krishna comes himself, or he sends his expansions, his incarnations, or his confidential devotees. Here, the material world is called a prison house. And our prison clothes is this material body that we are wearing. And to get different types of punishment in the material world, we get different types of material body. So, of course, Lord Brahma is creating the universe, but he's not independent creator. He's not the original creator. He's giving shape to the material elements. He's giving the spirit souls the bodies, but he's not the creator of the spirit soul. No, he is doing all this under the guidance of Lord Krishna. The spirit souls are put here in the material world by Krishna. So Kalpa is 1 day of Brahma. At the end of 12 hours, at the end of his day, the lower part of universe is destroyed, and that destruction is done by Lord Shiva. Maintenance is by Lord Vishnu. So one may think, okay, I want to get out of this prison. How do I get out of this prison, this material world? We have to come to Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu to help, to ask him to release us from this material world. No demigod can release us from this material world, no matter how powerful they are, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu. No. But if we worship, not Lord Brahma, not Lord Shiva, but only Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. So that's why we are encouraged to engage in devotional service so we can quickly get out of this prison. But it's not that one gets out of this prison of material world and after liberation, one becomes Lord Vishnu himself. No, we are individual souls. We engage in devotional service in this material world. And after liberation, the spirit souls continue to engage in devotional service. Devotional service is eternal activity of the soul, Sanatan Dharma. It's the eternal Dharma. So the demigods, yes, for sure they have powers. They can give us material benefits, but those material benefits are temporary. They will finish once this material world is collapsed, or till the time we have that karma, till the time that karma finishes. But they can't take us out of this material world. Only Lord Krishna can. Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu, he can give us liberation from this material world. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Devi hi esha gunamai mam maya duratyaya. Mam eva ye prapadyanti maya metam tarantite. Those who surrender to me can very easily cross beyond this material ocean, which is otherwise very difficult to overcome. So this material energy belongs to Krishna. So whenever Krishna orders her that release this person, she listens to him. And she lets that person go. Yeah, so this is why we are all encouraged to understand the supreme position of Lord Krishna, that he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and the material energy, she belongs to him, she follows his orders. So we should engage in devotional service to Lord Krishna. We'll stop here for today. Are there any questions, comments?
I think we can read this again tomorrow. Too many things to understand here, right? This one.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, we can. You want to read the same verse tomorrow? Sure.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We can begin from this one.
Yeah.
So we'll stop here. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.